The next talk is by Alex Wright. And Alex is a philosophy major at Barnard. And I must say that I think it's very important that any trip abroad have a philosophy student on it. One evening I found myself basically buttonholed at 10 o'clock. Alex, so the philosophy major and the chemistry major, insisting that I explain the special theory of relativity. And I think it took me an hour and a half, but we were more or less convinced that it was correct. So without any further ado, Alex Wright will be telling us about knowledge, power, and the pursuit of truth surrounding vanadium mining. Good to have you back.
Oops. Okay. I struggled at the beginning of this project trying to figure out how to do philosophy in a way that would concretely benefit the vanadium mining community. As I looked at the limited research on the subject, something that bothered me was the fact that certain issues were seen as worthy of investigation, while other issues were left out. This made me wonder how knowledge production was being conducted around the vanadium mining case, and I decided to take an epistemological perspective on the situation. Epistemology is the study of knowledge in all of its forms, and feminist philosophers have made clear very recently that epistemologists must study knowledge in its social context, because the production of knowledge and definitions about what it means to know have social components which reflect the power dynamics of society. One of the leading theories in this area is standpoint theory. A standpoint is the perspective of a group or community of people, and the idea is that what we know, or the ways in which we go about knowing, are reflective of our experiences, which are also systematically connected to our social status and our privilege or lack of privilege. Standpoint theorists claim that people who are disadvantaged may in fact have ways of knowing and know things better and differently than people who are more closely connected to the power structure, because they have a critical distance from the dominant views of understanding a situation. I've used this theory then to look at South Africa knowledge production and to understand how the production might benefit those who are in power while disadvantaging those who are not. So my research question, just to read it, was how has knowledge worked as a tool of oppression and disempowerment in the vanadium mining community? And how might a new relationship to knowledge transform the situation into being mutually beneficial for all involved? As I listened at the conference and asked questions, I found 3 forms of interrelated oppression that linked to the miners and their community's relationship to knowledge. The first was very concrete. Let's see, where am I? Okay, sorry. Okay, right. The miners were denied safety manuals. And they were also forced to engage in activities which were known to be harmful to their health, such as sucking sulfuric acid for 8 to 16 hours a day. The solutions to these problems are also very concrete and obvious, to get them safety manuals and also to increase health regulations in the mines. Secondly, the information that circulated about the health of the miners was created by those who were in charge, who worked towards the benefit of the Vametco company. We can see this in the way healthcare was taken care of. The miners were able to go to doctors, only the doctors that Vametco chose and paid. And of course, you're going to find problems there. The doctors systematically ignored the green tongues, the complaints of chest pains that the miners were bringing them. When the miners tried to go to other black doctors in the area, the black doctor certificates were not validated according to Vametco standards. They said that these doctors were being paid off by the miners. Because knowledge is seen as objective, and these doctors are in the position to create that knowledge, what we find out as truth about the situation is what's coming from these doctors, in which we can see that that is not necessarily the truth, but their perspective and what they want to be the truth. So, right. Okay, the third form of oppression is the fact that these miners are physical laborers and that physical labor is socially disempowering. At best, the miners have to use their bodies to do their work, and at best, the body deteriorates with age. This can explain why the miners' average working life is 20 to 25 years, at which point they are no longer fit to do mining and unskilled to do other work. The powerlessness that comes with this form of oppression is unsettling because it is uncertain where the problem lies. It feels wrong to say that physical labor is essentially disempowering. However, there is a connection between physical work and social disadvantage. Those who are socially disadvantaged are more likely to engage in physical work, and then physical work then further disadvantages these people. One way to look at that, which does not essentialize physical labor as negative, is to understand that social privilege, society privileges knowledge gained through the mind over knowledge gained through the body, and that this is not a necessary hierarchy, it's just the way that society has deemed things. Using standpoint theory, many philosophers, particularly feminist philosophers, have questioned this and said, well, maybe knowledge gained through the body is useful. And in some cases, people may be able to understand a situation better if they gain this knowledge through their body. By working with your hands concretely with the world, you may be able to understand things differently than those who simply work on it in an intellectual sort of way. So this implies then that the miners ought to benefit from their work rather than suffer from it, and that their knowledge be seen as valid, and that their sort of well-being be secured because they are benefiting sort of the production of knowledge in general. So standpoint theory allowed me to sort of understand a lot of the ways in which the miners are being oppressed because of their relationship to knowledge. And when we went to South Africa, we didn't consciously engage in standpoint theory. However, a lot of the research that was done looks a lot like standpoint theory. For example, a lot of the stuff Marcia mentioned, finding out about the sexual side effects, and also gaining insight of an economic example that sort of contradicts what Western economic theory would sort of assume to be the case. All of those things were found not by going to the doctors and the people in charge of the METCO, but by actually engaging with the miners and their wives and widows. The fact that we did not mobilize standpoint theory consciously, though, is something that needs to be looked at because it opens up the question of how should standpoint theory be mobilized ideally. And some of those questions that I've sort of formulated here are, should we obtain, oh, I'm not doing this. Sorry. Okay. Right, we're on the last slide now. Okay, these are the questions. Should we obtain knowledge from the disempowered and convert it into our own academic language, or should we work to have their voices heard? Should we rely solely on interviews, or can we take what we see from their lives and use it to form interpretations of the situation that we believe to be empowering? Does going to their situation but reflecting our own knowledge of science, for example, still constitute working from their standpoint? And also, how do we navigate the fact that while the miners do have knowledge of their bodies and ways of understanding their ailments, they do not have the medical education that the VMETCO doctors do? All of these questions are pertinent to make sure that we remain in a position that empowers the mining community, that we avoid academic imperialism, and that we gain the most insight possible from our research. By engaging in standpoint theory, I gained access to understanding oppressions facing the mining community, and was also able to recognize potential solutions. Also, though, further questions were opened up by this project, and these questions require further research and mobilization theory that would work to see how standpoint theory could be systematized in a way that would benefit researchers who want to do further work.